Hello everyone, today I'm gonna review your aquariums. A bunch of you guys have sent in photos of your tanks and well, I'm hyped to see what you come up with. So, as with all these videos, let's start with a few disclaimers to get things sorted beforehand. First of all, more than 250 of you have sent in your aquariums for this review video. Well, thank you very much. It's amazing to have so many people wanting to hear my opinion about your work. Sadly, we can't include all those tanks because the video would be 5 days long and no one would actually watch it. So if your tank is not in the video, I'm sorry about it. Please try again next time. We're gonna get through as many as we can. Secondly, we've done this for, I believe, 3 or 4 times before. And in the comment section, we usually see people getting offended by my opinion while I'm not even talking about their aquariums, but other people's work. What I provide here today is my honest opinion about the people's work who sent in their aquariums. They sent in their photos to get my honest opinion. So that's what I do. Please don't get offended. This is how I work. I usually focus on the negatives. I try to provide information about how you can improve what you do and how you can get better at aquascaping. That's what this is all about. Now, if you just found this video and you had no idea about the opportunity to send in your aquarium, well, follow us on our social media platforms. That's where we always announce these events. So, let's get into it. Here is the first aquarium. Okay, right away, I'm gonna get this out of the way with the first tank I see. Technical equipment is inside. Well, you have not sent the photo to a contest or anything like that. For me personally, if I send in my work to a review, I want to be as proud of it as possible, and the technical equipment distracts the view. So I'm, as a reviewer, I'm not getting the perfect sense of what this aquarium can be. This is the only time I'm going to tell this. Feel free to send in aquariums like this. At least everything in this example, everything is clean, so that's much better than what we get sometimes. But just so you know, it takes away from the experience slightly. That out of the way, let's talk about the tank itself. I like the composition, I like the hardscape work. What's bothering me a bit is this patch of moss. It seems a bit too organized compared to like the rest of the aquarium. Everything is wild enough for my taste. All the rest of the tank, the plants are not too manufactured in their placement, but this piece of moss somehow looks a bit artificial compared to the rest of the aquarium. Just be a bit more wild with it, just trim into the sides of it, let it run out on top of the wood without covering all the wood, and that's it. And another small thing is this grass in the back, which is probably Cyperus halferi. That's a bit out of place for me as well. I think if you would let the stem plants grow up like this and then the Cyperus is coming on top of them, over them, it would be better, or for me it would be better without this plant. But yeah, it's nothing major. It's a nice tank. I like the use of color, everything is mixed nicely, so yeah, good way to start. So here we have a quite nice nanoscape. So really nice use of plants. I like that it's, well, I'm not sure if I like it. It's a bit weird on colors. It's vivid and pale at the same time, which is a bit strange. Like this part and this part is really vivid green, but then everything in the middle is a bit pale. this might just be a plant choice issue, if it's an issue, or it might be on purpose. I'm actually on the edge to decide if I like this or not. Maybe if the rotella in the back would be a slightly more colorful version, then it would add for me for the sensation a bit. So yeah, you might do that in the future, or just mix in some red rotellas in between. Don't replace the whole bunch, just a few stems of red with sticking out. I think that would improve the scape a lot. For the hardscape itself, these two pieces of wood, these are almost parallel. That's bothering me a bit. I would actually open this up slightly. So for the big one, I would go like this, and the lower one like this. So they stand in like a bit of a V shape. I think that could improve. But now that I've mentioned this, I just see that the photo is not taken completely from the front. So it just might be a sensation because of the photo angle. But yeah, they should either point towards each other, or I would prefer them to open up a bit and go like that. Okay, this is an interesting concept. I like it. I just have a few things to pick on. Makes it a bit less attractive for me. So if I look at the hardscape itself, this side and this side, it's quite coherent. I like it, they work well. But these small twig, actually this one is coming out as well. I can't draw around it. These two, these are a bit distracting for me compared to the original. Funny enough, these don't bother me. I actually like them. So what I would do is get out or take out these. I don't think you need them for the scape. If you have more of these small branches, I would actually love to see them like in here as well. And I would hide this piece of lava stone with similar wood as the original scape. I mean, shape-wise, this is good. So like all this together, but it just, yeah, I just don't like how that's a piece of rock in between the wood where there's no other rock in the whole scape. The other thing is, on this side, this line is too perfect. Well, it's more perfect than what I can actually draw. But this is, it's almost like a straight line, while on the other side you manage to do this zigzag. That's more natural. I would, well, either take out or add a bit more, but just a few pieces sticking out of the rest, that would help it. As for planting, I love all this. I love what you did in the middle. I'm missing greens from here and the other side. I recommend you plant this area as well. I think that would add a lot to the scape. And actually here in the front as well, if you would add just a few pieces of like Eleucharis pusilla or Marsilea crenata or minuta, whatever you call them, the really short ones, just a few pieces. I'm not talking about the carpet. Just have some green that comes out onto the sand area. But yeah, the main idea and basic structure of the hardscape, I actually like it a lot. Okay, this one I like a lot. This is something I can't do. I can't do such detailed scapes. Really, I'm not sure if I can add anything to this. I just wanted to highlight how I actually love the scape. Okay, one thing, just so I'm picky and I actually provide you with something. This piece of wood shouldn't go this direction. So if the whole scape is designed to lead your eyes into here, and everything on this side is working towards that point, even this top piece is working towards that. Again, on the other side is the same shapes. Everything is pointing to this direction, but this piece is facing the wrong way. I'm not even sure if it needs to be there. I mean, it makes it a bit too symmetrical with this one, but if it is there, then it should stand like this maybe, or just the very end of it should be transferred to here. So yeah, that's it. But yeah, congratulations. I love the scape. I love the use of plants. I love how you have not overdone anything. There is very small pieces of red plants in here which you don't see at first when you look at the tank, but they make the tank what it is. It's the same on the other side. Again, with the small crypts, I'm guessing I'll be the brown in the front. Most people overuse these plants in such scapes. This aquarium doesn't need big patches of red plants, but having just these few adds to this autumn vibe that comes across the scape, finished by the light coming from the back. Yeah, I just feel like in October standing in the middle of the forest and looking towards where the sun comes from. Great work. Okay, this one, I'm guessing this is a newcomer in the hobby. It looks like a second build to anyone, which is, well, my tanks did look like this for the first and second time. A few points to improve in the future. Rockwork is actually quite good. It could use a bit bigger rocks, like you still have a lot of room upwards, but the shape and direction of the rocks in general is nice. Except for this one, it's standing straight up, which you should always avoid unless you are building like straight up mountains, but then everything is standing straight up. If the tank has a flow, a direction where everything is heading, then you should either follow that with every piece of rock or balance it out with other pieces of rock, but never have anything standing straight up. And the other thing is, I'm not even sure what plant this is, but it wants to grow higher, and because of that the bottom is not nice. That should either be taken out of that spot and place something smaller, or plant something in front of it that covers that bottom part like this. I would actually replace it with something like with thinner leaves. If you want the reddish color, then for example Cryptocorinne Albi, the brown, could work nicely here. You would get the same color, a bit deeper red or darker red, but it's thinner leaves, so it doesn't overthrow all the hardscape elements around it, and you don't get this uglier stem part on the bottom of the plant. And sort of similar goes for this area. You don't want to see these parts of the stem plants. Whenever you want to use higher stem plants, which like in here, which is how you usually use them, you should always take care of covering the bottom part. It's never going to be nice. It doesn't get enough light. The plant pushes all its energy to develop new leaves on the top, so the bottom is always thinned, it has less color and so on. So use other plants or hardscape to cover them. And actually that's one of the biggest issues with a scape like this, where you sort of want to have a minimalistic Iwagumi in the hardscape, but you still want stem plants because you like them. You need to find the middle ground somehow. Okay, so this tank is, well, there is potential in it, but I see a few problems. Starting with the hardscape, these lines are too straight. Like, one of the big advantages of Dragonstone, which is used here, is it has all these curvature on the edges naturally. this destroys it. It's just too artificial, it's too straight. And the same goes to this line on the bottom. I'm not sure if the rock is like this or you planted it in a way that it hides these small irregularities on the edge. You could fix it even with a few small pieces of dragonstone that you could just glue on so it sticks out a bit more. Just make this line a bit less artificial. As for planting, everything is really nice down here. I like this. I like this. I like what's going on the top, and I guess it actually grows out of the tank, which is always nice. These are good as well. These are good as well. My problem is this one. This plant is too big for here. The area that you are covering with this plant should be covered. So that's where the rocks get joined, and it is nice to have green in there because it would be too dark otherwise. And yeah, I see the point of that. But the actual plant, I guess, would be, this is normal Anubias nana, not even the putty version, but I would go with something even smaller. So either some type of Bucephalandra, or if you're going with Anubias, you should go with the smallest possible leaves like Pangolino or Mini Coin, which might be too round for this scape. But yeah, smaller leaves in there. Actually, this I can't decide. I mean, now it's too much. The Microzorum is too big, but I'm not sure if you replace this one with smaller leaves, then the Microzorum might start to work. Okay, so this is a great example of when nothing looks as it should, but still it has a really nice vibe. Especially with the photo itself, where I usually don't like this when I see the whole room and everything, but it seems like a corner of a bedroom or maybe an office, and it just pops in there. Bunch of greens, not overdone red. If I look at it piece by piece, then the stem plants should be trimmed and get in order. The Microzorum on the wood will be too big by time, because this must be a small nano tank. But just for the vibe, and that is a big part of aquascaping when we are not talking about competition, but the enjoyment of aquascaping and having a tank that makes you feel good when you get home. This is perfect. Okay, so with this one, the email says that the tank is a year old but recently restructured. I'm not sure how much the restructure was, but guessing based on the plant condition, the bottom was replaced and replanted. Everything here looks mature, so yeah, that looks nice. What's throwing me off a bit with this scape is how heavily planted and detailed all this is, and then this and the gap itself, that there is nothing here. I'm not sure if you've done this on purpose. Sometimes we do this when the tank is not mainly looked at from the front, but if you like come into the room from this side and you see this more empty part first, and then there's things going on behind, then it makes sense. But looking at it from the front, it's just a bit weird for me. How I would improve it is actually lead up this whole stone wall towards there. So you would have an endpoint there, which is in the middle, but that's what we are starting with. You wouldn't want to move the whole wood. So if you would like create a wall of stones here, then that would lead your eyes in there. Your whole empty space would be a lot smaller and more in ratio with the tank itself. And that way you could have higher soil in the back and stem plants in here, which can be trimmed like this. So then you would actually end up with this shape, which is complementing each other and fills out the tank nicely. That's what I would do. Or you could do everything you did here over here as well. That works, but now the tank is out of balance for me. Okay, this is really, well, not my cup of tea, these type of aquariums, but I love the basic idea of having the two tanks on I don't know, these are shelves or whatever, but the placement of the two tanks and how they are continuous and they create one scape. I'm getting some biotope vibes with all this brownish water, and the plants are not having their best time, but that's not the purpose of this setup, so I'm not critiquing that. Love the basic setup itself. I would go with a bunch of plants and keep the continuous structure of hardscape. That's really cool. Okay, here we have a more simple NA style aquarium. Reminds me a lot of the old ADA catalog photos. Bunch of simple plants, nicely planted and nicely used. The big-leaved echinodoruses, which I in general really don't like because they're too big for basically anything. They work really well in here. And I love these small bits, like this is Limnophila sessiliflora maybe. This is usually a plant that takes over aquariums quite quickly. If you usually use it in the back because it's really quick and grows high. I love how it's mixed in with the carpet. When I say simple classic tank, I mean it the best way possible. I like a tank like this. You never do such things. Old school vibes. The only thing is it needs a good cleaning. This amount of BBA is an achievement in itself. And it's all over the place. While having nice healthy plants, this type of algae problem is usually when the tank is not clean enough, and either it's underfiltered or maintenance routine is not followed properly. Yeah, just give it a good clean, please. Okay, nice little nano setup on someone's desk. I like the hardscape, nothing special, but it just works. What I don't like is the amount of soil over the sand. Most likely the gaps behind the hardscape weren't filled properly, so all the soil came forward. Please fix it, clean it. It would look so much better if it wasn't ruined by the soil. Okay, here we have a more mature aquarium. This is over 1.5 years old, and well, it shows on the plants, but I like it. It's a bit weird sensation that you have like these carpeting plants. They're all mixed, probably because of the age of the aquarium, and it looks really cool, but still you manage to keep really separate patches of plants in other areas. I like it when the plants mix a bit more, so I would blend in these stem plants. I would let some of the red stems come in front of the grass here. I would get the grass on the other side as well to get a bit more balance, because now when I look at this part of the tank, it's really weird how the red and the green meets up, especially with the greenish backlight or foil or whatever you have on the back. But it seems healthy. Everything seems to be under control after such a long time, which is nice to see. The scape itself, I'm guessing this and this are the same type of wood, but still this right side, it looks like that's a piece of rock. The two sides of the aquarium hardscape wise don't match that well. I'm missing these sticking out pieces here on the other side, and this one is a bit too bulky. I might even like leave this in here and just add a few pieces that resemble the other side a bit more. You don't need to take it out. It's not a problem that it hides so much of the background planting, because it actually somehow creates depth. I can clearly see that this is more towards the front and this is more towards the back, and because of this it seems like this whole area with the background plants is further back than all this on the other side. So that makes sense. I missed the balance, and I'm missing a piece of hardscape on the right side. Okay, this is something else. I get the idea of like building the whole layout out of rocks and having plants in the cracks in between them. What I don't like is, first, the color. I'm missing green. Like all the Bucephalandras that are around, they are this purplish color. It even seemed like your light is set to a bit of a bluish tone, but that might just be the photo. But everything around the aquarium seems properly white balanced, so the lighting is a bit weird, and everything is just too straight and too much in their place. Such a beautiful Iwagumi could have been built out of these tones, but that's taste. You wanted to use them like this, it's perfectly fine. But give some details around as well. Like this feels like you just filled every single gap with just one line of plant. Let the plants come up like this on here. Make them thicker here and then thin again. Now it's artificial, and it's double as hard when the idea is artificial in itself. So yeah, you need to work on the plants, but I get the basic idea. I think there is something there you can work with. Just work a bit more on it. Okay, with this one, I'm not actually sure what's going on. It looks like there is a waterfall behind the whole setup, which is running down a mirror. Okay, the image is too small. I can't see any details with the aquarium itself, but I love the vibe of it. It seems like a huge tank. The hardscape elements are nice. The left side is too much in the shadows. There is nothing in there, no light going down. What I can see from here that I like, and of course I don't see anything about the condition of like the plants or if there's any algae or something like that, but hardscape wise and use of space, I love it. This background stuff, I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm not even sure if I understand correctly what's going on there. Love the tank. Okay, here I have mixed feelings. Read the description and it says the tank is 60 liters. I'm not sure about the ratios of the 60 liter, but how is it looks like a really shallow tank, and based on the depth I'm getting, it might be like a really shallow cube, which is weird because this way it makes me feel like I'm looking at a nano tank. I love the use of space. I like the depth that you have built. It's nicely detailed out, plant size going towards the back and so on. It's all good. But because of this weird ratio, I feel like I'm looking at like a small box like this. And that is really strange. Also, as for the hardscape for the future, this rock and this is either not the same as all the others. Like this is really greenish and it looks like the surface is quite flat, while the rest looks like what we have as lava stones with the very small dimples in it, and it's all black. This might be a cleaning problem, like these should have been cleaned before the photo and the rest stayed clean in the process of making the tank. I don't know what's going on, but that's a bit weird. And the other thing is your sand is too clean. There should be some like small pebbles or gravel, something thrown around. This weird curving depth towards the back with the plants curving up as well. I like that a lot. Okay, this is how a 2-year-old tank should look like. It's a bit overgrown. There must have been some hardscape at some point, but now everything is covered with plants. The plants have already like thought it out who belongs where, and yeah, it just looks cool. I'm sure there's algae in it because the color of the plant, you can see some spots and so on, but it's a nice old tank that is still kept running and still maintained to some level. Yeah, just for enjoying aquascaping at home, this is great. These bits, these are coming from above the tank, or I'm not sure, but that's a bit weird. If it's coming from above the tank and you have something grown on it above the aquarium, then it's cool. Inside the tank, they're a bit weird. Not the one in the middle, like connecting the two islands, that's fine, but the two pieces on the right side just hanging there by their own, that's a bit strange. But yeah, keep this running for a few more years. Okay, here I like the scape a lot. I like the mixed use of stones and wood. Mentioned this with other aquariums, the soil on the sand should be cleaned off and should be prevented from rolling forward. But yeah, I like the plants a lot. The lotus I don't get in the state as it is now. Seeing the tank is 7 months old or something like that. By this time it should either be here on the top coming down, or if you planted it later on, then it's in the progress, that's fine. But if you keep it low on purpose, so you don't want it to grow to the top, then it should be stopped somewhere around here. So it doesn't make sense that it grows up to the bottom of the branch and then you don't let it go on the top. I'm not even sure if it's needed. Like I might be to do something like have a few leaves down here and then get the rest to grow behind the hardscape and be on top here in the back, which wouldn't add anything to the picture I'm seeing now, but for you at home it would be nice to have the big leaves on the back coming up. The pinnatifida grown out, I think it should be trimmed. I mean, I'm not a fan of this when it gets like long and thin and you just have the leaves like with this much of a distance between each other. It looks a bit dry as well because all the leaves are curling up. So either get rid of it or trim it regularly to have it like a dense bush on top of the tree coming out. But I love this shape with the rock and then complemented with the curvature. I'm not even bothered that it's in the middle, somehow it works. I love the mix of plants in the back. It's used quite nicely. Maybe you could hide some like stem plants here. They would come up at the reflection as well. So a mixture like this, like green and red, probably rotalas, having them on the edge, it would make your tank look wider than what it is now. Now you have this very nicely composed island basically in the middle, and because there's nothing behind, the reflection is empty, so it pushes everything towards the middle, and it makes it look like an island while it could look like something continuous where you don't see the end. Here there's a bit too much shadows, I believe. Not many plants survive there, and you also have the soil running forward. Clean that up somehow, get some plants in there because you just lost that space for no reason. You might want to have soil in there and not have any sand, and then you can plant some carpet. I can't judge how dark that part actually is, but you might get away with some marsillaire, which is not that picky on light. So yeah, get some plants in there. This one I like a lot. congratulations to keep it this clean for this long, with many type of competing plants that could have easily taken over each other. I love the amount of red that you use, that it's not too much, but it's there. I love how the plants are nicely mixed together, making it look wild. It's just a good scape. I like this scape a lot. Everything is nice and balanced. These bits of Butterflanders bother me a bit. Not big of a deal, but there's just no plant in such a position anywhere else around the tank. So that's just a bit strange. Love the colors, love the scape itself and all the planting. But what I love the most is the fish choice. I mean, the whole scape and the whole vibe it gives off with the colors. These honey gouramis, probably, I'm not sure about the English name, but these golden colored gouramis, they are just perfection. Yeah, love the scape itself. I can't add much to it, so I'm not going to start talking about that. The overall look, this is a scape that I would be happy to come home to. I love this scape. It just looks so monumental. Lots of details with all the small twigs coming down. It seems like it's moss only, which is always a really difficult thing to do. Having enough plants but not too much plants, it's the most difficult thing to do with moss. I like how everything is built around depth, so the hardscape elements are getting thicker towards the back. It leads your eyes really nicely towards the end point. If I want to be really picky, this is the middle of the tank. Could be a bit shifted towards one side, but not that big of a deal. And the other is the reflections on this side. It's really nicely done here, but it's a bit off, and I'm missing the plants from the reflection. This small bit that I can see through, it doesn't make sense for me, and this is a bit too open as well for my taste. Plant wise and, well, to be honest, hardscape wise, with all these details, this is something I couldn't do. I think I don't have the patience for this. Very nice use of such a small aquarium. This is 40 liters only, and there's a lot going on in it. Few plants that bother me. This Artenanthera in the front, it's not nice to see the bottom of a stem plant so close to the glass. It just doesn't make sense for me there. And maybe a bit too much of root stuff going on in here. If you would put these hygrophillas on the back of this stone, then you wouldn't have this effect. Or grab a few more and glue them on here in front of the roots, so you have leaves and plants instead of roots showing. But really nice control of plants. Such stem plants in such a small aquarium, kept this nicely in shape. It's not an easy thing to do, and this might be a coincidence, or this might be just for the photo, or it might be the flow itself. I love how the scape goes like this, and then the floating plants on the top go like this. The whole thing is in balance because of this. So yeah, again, might be a coincidence, but it's nice. This is another good example of something that you would want to have at home as a simple tank. What's bothering me a bit is these two. I mean, it's very much in the middle. It takes off the weight of that, well, main stone. Probably that was the main stone. I get why you have the Artenanthera. It looks cool in the scape itself, but it's too much. I'm not sure. I think I would get rid of this one and let this one run out like this, making sure that there is a line of green still visible in front. But yeah, it's a nice layout. This is again something that I love the vibe of. Like a nice piece on an office desk. It's very chill. Only thing, it really needs a trim. I mean, it still looks cool, but it's a few days away from being impossible to save and get back into shape. So yeah, just get your trims, and otherwise it's good. Okay, again, a nice classic one, with a few things to mention. This Anubias is too big where it is for me. I mean, all this makes sense. That's perfectly fine. That should be Anubias bonsai or Nana Petit or whatever. This seems like the normal Nana, which is too big compared to the rest. I'm not sure if you're going for depth, where this one is more towards the front, so it has bigger leaves. It doesn't work out this way. Just have the same type of small leaved Anubias as you have here, put the same on here. And the other thing, which is more for like a next build, or most of the roots, not all the roots, but most of the roots are standing straight up. You could get a better sense of space if this root would stand something like this, and these would open up a bit, and then you can have almost straight up ones in the middle. But with something like this empty space and this empty space would be less, and also you would have a better use of reflections, because if this wood sticks out like this, it connects to the reflection. You can hide higher plants behind it, which again, you use more of the space. That's just being picky, to be honest. All the rest, like the front area, bunch of different plants mixed in nicely, used very nicely. A nice use of colors. Moss could be a bit more trimmed. It's a bit getting out of hand, at least what I see on this picture. And the stem plants could be a bit more regularly trimmed and shaped a bit nicer. And I'm not sure about this. I don't know what's going on here on the top, but that doesn't make sense for me from this photo, at least. It might be something that you're growing above the water level, but it's just weird. If you would have the stems get in order and you would have a plant line sorted like this, then this bit is just sticking out, and it already does without trimming the stem plants. So yeah, I would change that. I love what's in there, and I don't like what's missing. It's just so much thrown towards the left. When you have a scape like this, we've seen many examples of this over the years, where just having a single tree in the tank. What separates a great example of this from a not that good one is the actual use of space. If you decide to have just one tree and that's it, then that should use up this space. Everything else in this tank is nice. I love how you've done the planting. I love how the carpet is shaped. I love that you've used, I guess, Hygrophila pinnatifida as the crown of the tree. And I don't mind the roots hanging down, which usually bother me a lot, but with the tree it makes sense. I'm not sure if you have purchased this piece of wood as it is and then you don't have much you can do about it, or if you've built it from scratch from other pieces of wood, in which case you should have built it in a shape like this and use the other side of the aquarium. There's just no reason to leave it empty. I like the tank. I like well, not the fact, my suspicion that you are really going strong with maintenance, because you have discus fish and a bunch of plants that don't really thrive in high temperature conditions. So I'm guessing there's a lot of work with this aquarium, but it's not fit for discus. It's not big enough. It's 280 liters. Discus should be kept way over 300 liters, and even there a smaller number of them, because there's a bunch of discus in here. And also they like to pick some food from the bottom of the tank, and that's why in most cases in a discus aquarium you see a very thin layer of sand on the bottom to give that option for them. In this aquarium with the dense carpet they can't do that. So planted aquarium wise, it's nice, I like it. Even for me, the fish is not the first thing when I build. The fish is usually a complement to the scape. I know this is dividing people, it's not for everyone like this. But if you want to have a fish like discus, something that's special and something that has so special needs, then you should make sure that you meet those needs better than in this case. This is just nice. I wouldn't change anything on this tank. It's a nice Iwagumi. Another great example of a small tank. It's just at 40 liters. There's a lot going on in there. Nice hardscape, nice planting. Lots of algae on the side glass, I think. But it might just be the photo. The photo is really weird. When you guys take photos with your phones, it puts on a bunch of filters automatically, even without you knowing, and it makes things a bit weird. I'm not sure if that's the case in here or there is a lot of green algae on the glass. Anyway, what's inside the glass, that looks good. Love the planting, love the hardscape. Fish might be a bit too big. I mean, I still get like a good feeling from such a small tank, but your scape could look even bigger if you go with a smaller fish. This is cool. I like how shallow tanks are getting more and more popular, and this is a good example of using one. The only thing is, I would be a bit more brave with the hardscape. Like, when you have a shallow tank and you know that you have this much space above it, why not use it? Why just let the plants use it? I mean, if these pieces of wood were sticking out above the water, it would add a bit, but it looks nice as it is anyway. Okay, we're gonna talk about two things with this tank. Let's go through the aquarium itself first. Nice work with the hardscape. Few things to pick on. First of all, this gap. If you leave that gap and you make sure that there are plants visible and you want the path to lead through in a curve, then make sure that you actually see it. Because now this rock is covering on top of the other rock. So I can just assume that was what you've been going for. It would actually add to the scape if there was this path completed successfully. And all the rest is, I think, only bothering me because of the second topic I want to talk about, the photo. Not everyone is a photographer. I respect that. There are things to learn, but I hope I can help you now a bit. For such a scape, for such a relatively small aquarium, there is no need to do this crazy low angle photography that comes from all the Brazilian aquascapes, where they want to create that insane depth and make sure that the rocks are layered in a way that you only see the very top of the stem plants in each level. And that kind of look can only be achieved with this very low angle photography. What it does for a tank like this is everything is shrunken down and the whole layout is much more flat than it actually is. So at least if I am correct, this rock and this rock is bigger than it looks now, and that is because of the angle. And the other problem is you get a lot of distortion, because when you take a photo of an aquarium, everything is behind a piece of glass. Now, when you shoot through a glass straight on, you don't get too much distortion. But as soon as you start to tilt your camera and change the angle, the distortion becomes bigger, bigger and bigger, and where the angle is the biggest, which is going to be your lowest and highest points, that's where you get these really strange looking distortions, where it's not just distorted shape-wise, but the image itself, the leaves are not as clean as they should. It looks smudgy. So yeah, please try to avoid it if it's not perfectly necessary. And for the hardscape part of it, this type of photography only works if you plan from the very first step. If you build your aquarium with the camera set up beforehand and put each piece of hardscape while looking at the picture, how it's going to turn out. And that way you can avoid this, like rocks being shrunken or even being too big for the scape and stuff like that. And what is, I believe, the biggest problem caused by this in this photo is these two flat lines. I don't think these are flat when you look at the tank in person. I believe that these are looking like this and looked at in person, but because of the low angle, they became a straight line, and that just throws off all the hard work that you've put in creating the hardscape itself. Might be wrong in this case, but that's my guess. And yeah, what I'm not sure how it happened is I don't actually see the bottom of the tank. I mean, not the glass itself, but there is stuff still going on under here, which has been cropped off, which now we are getting into like competition territory. This is a point deduction because not the whole tank is visible. You might even be like ruled out of the competition or disqualified altogether. What's not such a big issue, but it might be related to the missing parts, is the corners not matching up. So you want to make sure that these two lines are running into the corner when this line in the back is perfectly horizontal. This way you can make sure that all the angles are fixed and all the angles look as they should and everything is in place where it should be. I'm pretty sure I'm not explaining this good enough, but yeah, I'm sure that all of you understand that this glass, the top of the glass, should run into the corner on both sides, because now the whole image is tilted out or twisted. Again, I'm sorry, I didn't want to take away from the scape that you have built. I actually like it. Just to suggest something to improve the scape, I would actually mix in some green rotalas in between the reds. For me now, it's too much. It's just a bunch of green and then a bunch of red. You should mix the two, get some transition in between. But yeah, that's it. Love the rocks. And for some strange reason, I don't mind that all the pebbles in front of the hardscape are rounded while your rocks are square. For some reason it works. I like this one as well. The only thing is the plants are a bit too arranged, if that makes sense. They're not mixed enough. There should be transition in between plants always. And because of this, this line is too straight as well. I mean, you have a straight line of carpet and then a straight line of bushy plants and then a piece of wood where you have epiphyte plants and moss. You should have moss in here as well. You should have small leaved epiphytes up here as well, and in here as well. These plants, like this is Reinecke, and then I'm not sure what's next to it. This might be Staurogine repens. Doesn't matter. The Staurogine could go in here, in between the Reinecke, a bit like this. This part is good and this part is good. And also the stem plants, you should use what we call topping. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like when you trim, you just trim off the top and throw it away. What you should do is trim the stem plant and put back the top so you have nicer ends visible. This way you can trim lower, because it looks like this was about your trim line. You could trim your plants about here and put back the top of the plants to reach the same level. I hope it makes sense. Like your trim line completed, it looks good, but I see a not nice part of the plant which I don't want to see. So try it next time when you are trimming. Okay, so this one is mind-blowing. If it really is 18 liters, I mean, that's such a small size and everything is placed and trimmed to perfection. I don't want to say I don't believe you when you say it's 18 liters. It's just really hard to believe and comprehend how it's possible. I just love it. If there's anything to say, it's a bit too neat. Mixture of plants is missing for me a bit, but it's a lot more difficult to achieve in such a small size. So what bothers me is these clear lines of plants. I can identify the exact position where a single plant is, and there's no transition. Same goes here, like with this straight line of red and then the green behind. Looking at the image without knowing how small it is, if I would say that this is like a 60-liter tank, it's very good for that as well. But for 18 liters, this is some astonishing work. This is a really nice jungle. I mean, not jungle style, like replicating a jungle, but really nice mix of plants. As far as I can tell, everything seems healthy. There's not much I can add. I mean, clearly not a competition aquarium, but it doesn't have to be. It's again one of those where you just go home, sit down, take a look and enjoy. And there's a lot to look at. That's what's nice about tanks like these, that you can immerse yourself in them and find details no matter how long you've already known it. Then I looked at the image first, I was like, wow. And then I want to get into the details and I can't because of the quality of the photo. I don't want to take away from the scape. I like the hardscape. I like the plants, what I see, but there's a lot I don't see. I don't know if there is algae all over the tank or it's just an issue with the photo. I don't see a lot of areas of the tank because there's so high contrast that everything from here to here and then down here all the way is just black. Up here as well, that would be fine. I don't see half of the tank, I don't see half of the image, and it's the same in between plants and lower areas. It's really difficult to review a tank like that. All I can say is what I see I like. I like the vibe of it. I'm not sure if this tank is built for competition or just for itself, but I think it's a good example to talk about, and I'm sorry, it's not personally against you, it's against the photo. I think this is important. If you want to compete and enter into competitions with photos, then you need to make sure that the photo is good enough quality wise and not destroyed by either your phone automatically or by your post-processing, I get a really nice feeling of emotions from this photo, which could even be on purpose. And we have seen all the masterclasses from Josh Sim when he talks about the importance of shadows and so on. This is not what he means. You need to make sure that the shadows are there when you build a tank, when you build a hardscape. The shadows are coming naturally and the shadows have a purpose, but still you can grow plants. If these shadows here would be true and not just made by contrast in the photo, then none of these plants would be alive down here. So yeah, doing this by post-processing, you are actually counterproductive. In most contests, these things get a deduction in point. At least when I judge, I do it. I want to see the true self of the tank. I love when lighting and somewhat post-processing adds to the scape and gives it a special vibe that it wouldn't have another way. You can see a lot of examples of this in the past few years with tanks being a bit yellowish with autumn vibes, but it only works if I can still see that the plants are healthy and I can still see all the details in the aquarium, and I can make sure that there's nothing hidden in the shadows and stuff like that. So yeah, again, I'm sorry for you personally that I've been picking on your aquarium, but it's just a very good example for this. As for the layout, I like what I see, and I like that you have a bunch of plants that could outgrow each other, but they are really nice. What I'm missing in a lot of aquariums that we've been going through today, the mixing of plants, the transition between types of plants, it's very nice in your aquarium. Okay, you don't see the name of who's done this tank because I've asked the guys not to show it, because we are at the point where I don't want to really hurt anyone. I'm not going to talk about the scape and the plants and anything like that. What I want to talk about is responsibility for live animals. This tank is not fit for the things that are in it. Okay, so 15 gallons is 55, 60 liters, something like that. Angelfish shouldn't be in here. I know that when you go into the store, they are so small and they are really cute and you've always wanted them from childhood. A grown angelfish is this size. It's bigger than the height of this aquarium. And when you get them small and you put them in a tank like this, they're gonna stay small, but they suffer. It's the same as someone takes you and puts you in, I don't know, a basement room, which is 2 square meters, and you live your life in there. Please don't do it. That's why I said we don't put out the name, because you are probably a newcomer. Someone should have told you this before selling you this fish. It's just as much the responsibility of anyone selling animals as anyone keeping them. But yeah, please don't do stuff like that. And also, this tank is 1 week old, so the water is not ready to keep fish. Okay, a nice little Brazilian-ish style aquarium. Might be just a photo thing, but everything seems a bit yellowish. If it's plant health, then check. So if you look at your own tank at home and it looks yellowish, then check if everything is all right. It might be some problems with fertilization, but I'm guessing it's just a photo, because if I look at all the leaves and so on, everything seems to be healthy. Few things to mention. This plant, don't want to see the bottom of it. Put a piece of rock in front, otherwise it's fine. All the background plants, these are really nice. I love them how they are. A bit more about taste, and I'm not sure how to fix it. But the shape of this rock and the shape of this rock, there is something a bit unnatural when none of the sides are straight. So like Brazilian style aquascapes and escape like this, these resemble mountains. There's usually like very strict lines on mountain sides, and when you have a curvature like this on the bottom especially, so yeah, this curved gate seems a bit weird. You might just try a bit twisting these rocks. If this one you just twist towards here, so the top goes a bit higher, then it might work a bit better. With this one, I would try to rotate it like this, so the tip itself stays where it is, but on this, so you just grab it and twist it around this line, so this bottom part ends up being a bit back here and this part comes out a bit towards here, and that way you probably get rid of this. I mean, it won't be visible from the front. Yeah, but that's the only thing bothering me. Otherwise, nice scape, especially if this is like a beginner scape, which I'm not sure it is. Let's check the email. First ever planted tank. Yeah, that was my guess. You've done nothing wrong, but this is what you can improve for next time. It's very nice for first work. Okay, I like this one. Again, few things. I mean, this use of cryptochlorine, like this dance, it's a bit strange, but it works. It looks good. I would continue this shape in trimming. I would let the rotella come out here a bit, and I wouldn't let it reach the surface. This should be just a very small gap on the very top of the curvature, but it's really nice. Plant health wise, the tank is perfect. I love the little bits going down on the wood. What I'm missing a bit, or what I can point out, is again the mess of plants are a bit too immaculate and a bit too divided. There should be a bit more mixture. You could, like in the carpet, you could plant another type of carpeting plant, like some grass type or some marsilea, just to make it a bit less sterile, and maybe some other type of plant in front of the two stem plants, or mixed in both of them, because mixing these two wouldn't make much of a sense. But if you have a third type of stem plant and you mix it in both batches, just a few stems, then it throws this unified look a bit. I never liked red-only aquariums, but that's perfectly just my own taste issue, so that doesn't take away anything from your build. It's actually quite nice in the plant department. Everything seems to be in really great condition and the plants have a great color. What I would suggest is, first of all, something that you can't really change now. It's weird for me that you've gone with dragon stones, which has a reddish tone as well. There's no contrast in the aquarium, which makes it look flat. The other thing that makes it look flat is that the hardscape itself is actually flat. So you don't have any heights. You could have built this up with some big stones sticking out, or you could have gone for a triangular scape. Any height would help this, and then you would have something to trim the rotellas to, if that makes sense. So for example, if you would have built up just a simple triangular scape, then you could have trimmed your rotellas like this and it would have a shape. But now you have one straight line here and basically one straight line here with the plants, and then a bunch of empty space on top. So just for future reference, if you build something like this, I would go with a different type of rock, either, for example, lava rock, which is black, so great contrast. Or if you don't want that much contrast, then, for example, cerulean stone with the light gray color, something that just pops out. Looking at this, it's really hard to differentiate the parts of the rock and the parts of the plants, because it all just blends in, and that's why it's flat in both dimensions. So it looks like a wall that is sliced up. Really nice work on the plants themselves. It's clearly in very nice condition, which is not an easy thing to do. So yeah, I think you could improve the hardscape and it would look even better. And now I've just seen two things that are important for this. First of all, this is your very first aquascape, so all the things that I've mentioned that needs practice or watching lots of videos, now you know. And the other thing is the tank is over 2 years old, which for stem plants like this and all the epiphytes that have not covered the rocks completely, it's quite a nice work. Another nice little nano tank. We have a bunch of nice nano tanks this year. Not much to add. The hardscape itself is quite flat. It's basically a piece of wood. I like a bit more interesting scapes, but it looks good. And what I usually mention with builds like these is the bottom part of stem plants shouldn't be visible and should be covered by hardscape or plants. It is, finally. You have these, the Blixa and the Bucephalandra, covering the ugly part of a stem plant. Then could use a trim, to be honest. Maybe the Ludwigia palustris, which I think this is a bit too big leaved compared to the fine rotalas that you have. So that wasn't the best choice, but not the end of the world. I like the floating plants as well, which I rarely do. So yeah, it's a nice scape all in all, especially for a small tank. Again, one of those really nice small nano layouts, nice plant choice, nice planting. But what I love the most about this, and I don't see this used very often, the Phyllanthus fluitans on the top. So not having red plants inside the scape, but having red plants floating on the top, I think it looks great, especially with going with fish and shrimps that have reddish tones, that the plants complement them on the top. It just looks cool. I like it. Okay, this is just 22 liters. I love the hardscape. I'm missing a bit more plants. Why don't you have plants here? And there could be an area in front as well. I don't know. I should see this from the very front, and it would be nice from like a lower angle where I can see the water surface. There might be a bit more green sticking out, but yeah, just needs more plants. The scape itself, I like a lot. Okay, I stopped there for a minute. This sand here is so clean that I thought that there is an actual gap in between the two pieces or the two sides of the hardscape, but there's clearly some sand in there. I'm not sure. I don't like that it's so clean. I want to see the sand there. I want to see this yellowish color that you have on the bottom as well. This might be the same type of sand, and the light was just too powerful when you made the photo, which makes sense to like do this to remove the backside of the glass when you take the photo. But yeah, that's a bit weird. Other than that, love the plants. You have what I've mentioned so many times, not just in this video, mixing the plants nicely, having multiple types of rotalas planted in the same place and let them just fight it out. It's good. This is too dark, and I think this is post-processing issue with the photo, that you use too much contrast, because there's clearly some plants in here. I just don't see them anymore because of the photo. And in here, it's a bit weird that I see through the plants. So what I would suggest is having a piece of hardscape in here with all these plants still in front of it. So I don't want to see the hardscape, I just want that piece of hardscape to hide this from the background. Nice trimming, nice scape, nice plants. And I love when people dare to use plants like verticillata and ranunculus that are so difficult to keep in control. They just run around and hide everything else. It's just 4 months old. You might be suffering later on with those plants, but if you can keep them under control, then it's really good. I love this fur cube. These tanks are quite hard to build and have proper use of space in them, but having such an island, especially if you can walk around it and or at least see it from the 2 sides as well, not just the front, these are not the easiest to do, and I like it. It's simple, it's a bit too divided, the rocks and the plants. I mean, maybe you could use some moss on the rocks to blend them in a bit more, but yeah, it's a nice tank. And so that was it for today. Again, if you have not been included in this video or your tank was not included, I'm sorry. We had a bunch to go through and we couldn't have everyone's aquarium in one video. But if you don't want to miss the opportunity next time, then follow us on social media where we announce all these types of events, basically. I hope I didn't offend anyone. If I did, I'm sorry, but this was my honest opinion. I hope you can use it for your future builds. And if you want to see similar videos from the past, then you can check them out over here. Thank you for joining me. See you next time. Goodbye.